My father visited me from the other side, nearly a decade after he died, and that encounter dissolved years of resentment in minutes. But afterwards, something profound happened. My reality started radically shifting. Most of us don't realize how unresolved emotions are quietly shaping our lives. We think we're stuck because of circumstances, but sometimes we're stuck because of energy that's never been released. What if the thing that's holding us back isn't our lack of effort, but it's something we never forgave? Today, I'm going to share one of the most transformational experiences of my life. And it was in 2009 that it happened. I was living in Australia at the time. I was meditating. I was living with some yogis. And during this very powerful meditation, I was in a very good state. All of a sudden, I was transported to another world. I'm going to describe it. It was a little bit like the astral regions. For those of you who've seen things like that, it looked like a moonlit stage. And on this stage, there was what looked like an angel, and I knew to be one of my guides. They were dressed in white. And next to this guide was my late father. Now, I wasn't a fan of my late father, but my guide said, "Please hear what he has to say. This is for you." I looked towards my father, who I hadn't seen in years, who I hadn't really thought about much. And he said, "I will be succinct. I wanted to say, I am so sorry for the way I treated you in that lifetime. I didn't have the knowledge or the power to do better at that time." I looked at him. It hadn't really dawned on me what was happening. And I was like, "Okay, anything else?" And then my guide said, "Now take these shears," and they were big golden shears, like about this big. And he said, "Now cut this cord between you and your father." And then when I looked, I see this silvery thread going between my navel and my father's. And I said, "With pleasure." Okay, I really hadn't moved through the experience yet. I take the shears and I go to snip this silvery thread, and the shears get stuck. They stop about a hair's breadth from this thread. And all of a sudden, my consciousness expanded to another whole level, and I became multidimensional for the first time in this human life. And in that multidimensional experience, it was a little bit like out of the movies or something. I saw me and my father in countless lives. When I say countless, I'm talking thousands. I don't remember how many it was. I didn't even see our bodies in all of them, but I knew that me and him had been in every kind of relationship. We had been friends. We had been family. We had been partners. We had been strangers. We had been neighbors. We had even been lovers. And I came out of that experience. My father was gone, and that was it. The experience was over. The next morning, I wake up and I've got tremendous pain coming out the back of my spine. It honestly felt like I had been stabbed right in the back behind my heart. I didn't understand what was happening. I could barely breathe. I was panting kind of the way a cat pants when it's really hot. And I had a myofascial class that I had to get to. And I remember I struggled getting to class. I get there, and there were a lot of intuitives in that class. And one of them, she saw me when I walked in, and she just came up to me right away. And she said, "Meniyka, what's happened?" And I said, "I don't know. I can't breathe." And I was panting, as I mentioned. And she says, "Okay, it looks like you have a bunch of bitterness and resentment," she was clairvoyant clearly, "coming out of the back of your heart." And I said, "Okay." And she's like, "I'm going to do a little Bowen on you." Bowen is a myofascial technique out of Australia. So she did a few Bowen moves, and she goes, "That's good. You're having a release. It'll be gone in 24 to 48 hours. Your symptoms, whatever you're going through, it's going to dissolve." And she was right. It did. And the next couple of days, I started to feel back to normal, and I was feeling good as new. What was wild was things started to happen. I started to get, in the coming weeks, emails and messages over social media from people I hadn't spoken to in years. I had moved abroad. I had been abroad for a few years. And so I was really surprised. And the crazy thing was, these people were all apologizing to me. They were admitting to things they had done to me years ago that I had no idea about. One, I remember he was telling me he was very sorry because he sabotaged me in some way. Another one told me how sorry she was, that she had so much resentment towards me. Another one admitted something about jealousy. It was really wild. Another thing that really happened that was super transformation is a natural bridge of events unfolded. I have been an out-of-body experiencer since childhood. And until this time, until my 30s, I was having uncontrollable OBEs, out of body experiences, where I couldn't control them. And all night I would be traveling around. I mean, on one hand, it's pretty fun and fascinating, but sometimes you just want to get your Z's. So a natural bridge of events unfolded where I discovered earthing, I discovered grounding sheets. And somehow sleeping on grounding sheets just completely managed my OBEs. Like all of a sudden, I'm not floating out of my body every night. Now I track back to that and I realize my energy was so much more grounded because I had a huge block somewhere in my energy system, probably around my heart, in regards to my father and our history together. And now my energy could be flowing, and somehow this was grounding me and keeping me embodied. Okay, so this was kind of my first experience in embodiment. That was a huge game changer for me personally. Then I remember a couple months later, I went to India and I went up to the ashram to go meditate. Okay, it's up in the mountains. I didn't tell anybody I was going there. All right, there are family and friends I know who frequent there, but again, I didn't tell anybody. I am in a world meditation hour at the time. And lo and behold, my father's sister is sitting there in the hall. And when I walk out, she says, I've been waiting for you for 2 weeks. So she's pretty intuitive. She's been a yogi for most of her life. And she used to be quite harsh and severe with me when I was younger. And there she was sitting and she said, I've been waiting for you for 2 weeks. I knew you were coming. I didn't know when. I just wanted to say I am so sorry for the way that I treated you when you were younger. So that was absolutely mind-blowing. During that meditation experience, things got even more profound. I was sitting in the meditation and that same guy that I saw in the experience with my father was there. And he took me to the top of a mountain. Okay, this is all happening now in my mind's eye. This was slightly different from the experience with my father, which really felt as real as me sitting here recording this video and giving this message. But in this experience, it was like a profound third eye kind of meditation. And I see this guide and he takes me up to the top of this mountain and I see an ocean of faces. And this ocean is like light. It's like light bodies. And it's infinite. I can't even tell you how many people were there. And he said, all of these people want your forgiveness. And you need, it's emotional, you need theirs. And so that's what that whole meditation was about. It was like this complete release and exchange of forgiveness with all of these nameless faces. So I already shared what happened when I walked out of the hall when I saw my father's sister, but these experiences continued. Those were kind of like the main highlights of it. This was the beginning of my journey into the mind-body-spirit connection. Until this experience, I had no idea the impact of our emotions on our health, on our lives. I didn't know how interconnected we were. I had never had a multidimensional experience like this, even though I was having out-of-body experiences. This was my first touch of non-duality, where I became part of everything. Of course, it was just through the lens of my relationship with my father. But what I learned was very simple. Forgiveness isn't about them. Forgiveness is about creating the space within ourselves. It's about releasing trapped emotions so that our energy can start cycling. It allows us to be lighter. It releases weight we didn't even know that we were carrying. So this is the message for today. And I thank you so much for sticking around to hear my story. I hope that it touched your heart. It has really been one of the most important lessons of my life. If you enjoy this message, please share your beautiful energy. Like, subscribe, share, comment. Please share your forgiveness experiences. I would love to hear about them, and I'm sure the community and the growing community would love to as well. If you're interested in coaching, readings, or visionary art, you'll find that information in the description box below. Thank you so much for tuning in. See you in the next message.